Arthur didn't just like taking credit. He wore it like a tailored suit. As the regional director of supply chain logistics, his primary skill was standing in front of the board of directors and presenting slide decks full of cost-saving metrics he had absolutely nothing to do with. His latest target was David. David was a quietly efficient logistics coordinator who had spent the last 2 years building a proprietary, highly intricate vendor routing framework. By mapping out thousands of micro shortcuts through local shipping channels, David had single-handedly slashed the warehouse's transit costs by 34%. On a sharp Thursday afternoon, Arthur swaggered into David's cubicle, smelling faintly of expensive cologne and a 2-hour steak lunch. He dropped a heavy, plastic-bound manual onto David's desk. "Big changes, Davo," Arthur said, leaning over the partition. "Corporate is rolling out Apex 9 on Monday. It's a new, ultra-strict automated supply chain software. Everything transitions to the automated grid." David blinked, looking at the manual. "Apex 9? Arthur, that system is completely algorithmic. It doesn't handle nuance well. My custom routing framework relies on manual vendor relationships." "Which is exactly why you're going to manually input all your custom shortcuts into the new system before Friday night." Arthur smiled, his teeth blindingly white. "But here's the kicker. You're going to log out of your profile and input all of it under my user credentials. Every single route." David paused, his fingers freezing over his keyboard. "Under your login? Arthur, if I do that, the system will register you as the sole architect of the framework. You'll get the entire automated optimization bonus from corporate." "I am the director, David. I own this department," Arthur said, his voice dropping to a low, cold threat. "Everything that happens under this roof is my responsibility, which means it belongs to me. Do it under my name, or I'll find a logistics coordinator who can follow simple instructions." David looked at Arthur for a long, quiet moment. He felt the familiar, hot sting of anger in his chest. But instead of arguing, a sudden, beautiful clarity washed over him. He looked down at the manual. He knew the software architecture of Apex 9. He knew it better than Arthur ever would. "Understood, Arthur," David said smoothly. "I'll make sure it's done exactly to your specifications." As soon as Arthur strutted away, David opened his email. He carefully drafted a message, copying HR and the VP of Operations under the guise of an operational handover log. "Arthur, per your explicit verbal directive, I am logging into Apex 9 using your administrative credentials to input the custom regional routing framework. Please confirm that you wish to assume absolute, sole operational custody of these automated routes moving forward, as the system requires immediate human verification for anomalies. Best, David." 3 minutes later, Arthur's condescending reply flashed on the screen. "CCing the entire chain of command. David, like I said in your cubicle, stop overthinking and just do your job. I am the director. Everything under my name is my responsibility, and I am more than capable of managing my own profile. Proceed immediately." David smiled. He printed the email chain, folded it neatly, and slid it into his briefcase. For the next 24 hours, David complied maliciously. He logged into Arthur's profile and meticulously hard-coded his entire routing framework into the Apex 9 system. He didn't cut a single corner. But David knew exactly how Apex 9 operated. It was a zero-tolerance security system. Because the software registered Arthur's profile as the creator of the routes, it automatically bound Arthur's account to the operational failsafes. If a shipping vessel hit an error flag, a delayed port, a weight discrepancy, a customs hitch, the system would instantly ping the creator's profile. The creator then had exactly 60 seconds to input a manual override code. If the 60-second window closed without a response, the automated system would assume a cyber breach or physical disaster was occurring and instantly trigger a Level 1 operational lockdown to protect the inventory. David finished the data entry by 4 p.m. on Friday. He then went into his own profile, completely wiped any secondary routing authority, and deleted his administrative backup access. He was entirely clean. At 5 p.m., David walked past Arthur's office. Arthur was currently putting on his coat, loudly telling someone on the phone about the massive corporate bonus he was expecting next month. "Have a good weekend, Arthur," David called out. "You too, Davo. Try to disconnect for once," Arthur chuckled. "Oh, I intend to," David said. David walked out to his car, drove straight to a state park 3 hours away where cellular towers didn't exist, switched his phone into airplane mode, and pitched his tent for a peaceful, data-free weekend of camping. At 2:14 a.m. on Saturday morning, a massive container vessel carrying 400 tons of electronics hit an unexpected tidal delay at the regional port. The Apex 9 mainframe immediately registered the delay, flagged it as an anomaly, and fired a high-priority, maximum-volume alert to the smartphone of the route's registered owner, Arthur. Arthur, who was currently sound asleep after consuming 3 martinis at a downtown lounge, didn't hear his phone buzz on his nightstand. The 60-second countdown timer began. 59. 58. 57. Arthur snored softly. 3. 2. 1. Critical timeout for user, Arthur.logistics. Anomaly unverified. Security breach protocol engaged. The Apex 9 system operated with absolute, cold efficiency. Instantly, the software triggered a Level 1 operational lockdown across the entire regional distribution hub. The main servers cut the power grids to the massive loading docks, plunging the facility into darkness. The electronic security gates slammed shut and magnetically locked. The automated forklifts froze mid-aisle, their safety lights flashing red. The automated conveyor belts ground to a screeching halt, trapping thousands of packages in limbo. Simultaneously, the system generated an automated emergency report and blasted it directly to the inbox of the global CEO, the VP of Operations, and the Board of Directors. Critical operational NANE alert. Regional hub lockdown tripped by profile, Arthur Logistics. Failure to respond to system critical anomaly. Estimated finances lost per hour, $180,000. Arthur's phone began to ring continuously as panic-stricken warehouse managers tried to reach him. But the system had already locked them out. By 6 a.m., 32 freight trucks were backed up onto the interstate highway, creating a massive traffic jam, unable to enter the locked facility. On Monday morning at 8:30 a.m., David walked into the corporate office. The atmosphere was electric, with pure, unadulterated chaos. People were running down hallways with printouts, phones were ringing off the hooks, and the air smelled of stale coffee and panic. David calmly poured himself a cup of coffee and walked toward his cubicle. Before he could even sit down, Arthur intercepted him. Arthur looked completely unhinged. His tie was crooked, his face was a ghostly shade of pale green, and his eyes were bloodshot. "David! In the conference room! Now!" Arthur hissed, his voice cracking. David followed him into the main glass conference room. Sitting at the long mahogany table were 2 grim-faced corporate HR investigators and the VP of Operations, Sarah, who looked like she was ready to chew through steel. "David!" Arthur yelled, slamming his hand onto the table, trying to project his usual authority but failing miserably. Tell them it was your framework that crashed the system. David bypassed my authority, messed up the routing data entry on Friday afternoon, and caused a total facility blackout. It was a sabotage." Sarah turned her icy glare toward David. "David, is this true? We have lost nearly $2 million in frozen logistics since Saturday morning. Arthur claims you operated under his profile without his permission and botched the installation." David didn't flinch. He didn't raise his voice. He simply took a slow sip of his coffee, opened his briefcase, and pulled out the printed email chain from Thursday afternoon. He slid it across the table directly to Sarah. "On Thursday, I explicitly warned Arthur in writing that entering the data under his profile would give him sole operational custody of the automated failsafes," David said calmly. "I warned him that the system required immediate human verification. As you can see by his reply, Arthur CC'd you, Sarah, stating that he owns this department, that everything under his name is his responsibility, and ordered me to proceed under his credentials." Sarah read the email. Her jaw tightened so hard, David heard it click. She looked up at Arthur, her eyes like daggers. "Arthur, you explicitly stated here that you were fully capable of managing your own profile's alerts." I didn't think it meant weekends," Arthur stammered, sweat breaking out across his forehead. "David should have been monitoring it. Why didn't you answer your phone, David?" "I was camping in a dead zone, per your advice to disconnect," David said, offering a small, incredibly polite smile. "Furthermore, as an entry-level coordinator, my profile has no administrative access to override a Level 1 lockdown on a director's account. Only Arthur could have stopped it." The room went completely silent, except for the sound of Arthur's heavy Sarah stood up, sliding the printed email into her folder. She looked at the two HR investigators, then pointed a finger at the door. "Arthur, pack your things. Security will escort you out of the building in 10 minutes, Sarah said, her voice dropping to a deadly, quiet calm. "Your employment with this company is terminated effective immediately for gross operational negligence and attempting to falsify corporate records." Arthur looked like he was going to faint. He opened his mouth to beg, but one look at Sarah's expression stopped him. He turned and stumbled out of the room, completely broken. Sarah turned to David, her expression softening just a fraction. "David, your email trail is the only organized piece of data I've seen all morning. How long would it take you to log into a new director profile, clean up Arthur's mess, and get the warehouse gates open?" David looked at his watch. "If I use my own optimization framework, about 20 minutes. Sarah nodded, a small smirk playing on her lips. "Then go log into the corner office, Director David. Your new salary and keys will be waiting for you by lunch." David smiled, picked up his coffee cup, and walked out to begin his new shift.